One of the most influential cartoons of the last 20 years was rejected when it was first pitched. Actually, rejected multiple times.
What's going on? Abraham Lincoln?
A weird cartoon that almost didn't exist was Adventure Time.
Adventure Time! Come on, grab your friends.
Some of the cartoons that end up changing animation the most are the weird ones. The ones that didn't quite fit the mold. The ones that almost didn't get made at all. Before it became a massive hit, before it reshaped kids' TV animation forever, before it inspired an entire generation of creators, it was just a strange little pilot that networks didn't quite know what to do with. And if you're someone who wants to create your own animated show someday, the story of how Adventure Time actually got made is really worth understanding. Hi, I'm Emily Brundige, and I create cartoons for a living. Over the past decade, I've pitched and sold 8 original animated shows. Most recently, I created my own original animated show, Goldie, for Apple TV. It's been nominated for 2 Emmys, including Best Writing. The shows we think of as obvious hits today almost never felt obvious when they were first pitched. In fact, some of the most beloved cartoons ever made were nearly rejected out of existence.
No!
And Adventure Time is one of the best examples of that. Adventure Time started as a short animated pilot created by Pendleton Ward. The short was first pitched to Frederator, rejected, and then eventually produced through Frederator Studios as part of a program called Random Cartoons. That original Adventure Time short aired on Nickelodeon, and then Nickelodeon passed on turning it into a series. Normally, when a network rejects a pilot, that's the end of the story. Most pilots disappear forever, but something unusual happened with Adventure Time. My book, A Guide to Developing Animated Shows, walks through the development process step by step. It's a comprehensive resource you can come back to again and again. You can also follow the journey of my one-woman indie studio, Li'l Toughy, and read chapters from my next book, A Guide to Writing Animated Pilots, on my Substack.
I'm connecting to the internet with my mind.
The pilot got uploaded online, and people went bonkers for it.
Yay!
It started spreading across the internet, especially on early animation blogs and video sites. And within a relatively short time, the pilot had racked up millions of views, which was a huge number for an animated short at the time. People were sharing it widely and talking about how strange and original it felt. For a cartoon that had technically already been rejected twice, It was suddenly generating the kind of enthusiasm that the most beloved shows get. And it had only been online for a matter of weeks. Eventually, Cartoon Network noticed the popularity and decided to develop the project into a full series. When Adventure Time finally premiered in 2010, it felt completely different from most cartoons that had come before it.
Who is that guy?
It was weird. It was imaginative. It had surreal humor, but it also had surprising emotional depth.
I'm gonna be the best dad ever.
And it also became something else that's really interesting. Adventure Time turned into a kind of creative training ground for the next generation of animation creators. Many artists and writers who worked on the show went on to create major animated series of their own. For example, Rebecca Sugar, who later created Steven Universe. So the influence of Adventure Time didn't just come from the show itself. It also came from the people who learned and grew while working on it. But the most interesting part of the story is that the show almost didn't happen at all. It only survived because people online saw something special in it before the industry did. And today we're starting to see that pattern happen more and more often. For a long time, the only way an animated series could exist was if a studio approved it. But now creators can build audiences directly. Projects like Amazing Digital Circus and Has Been Hotel started online, built huge fan bases, and then the studios came afterward. The audience helped prove that those shows had a future. And honestly, that shift is part of why I started building my own independent animated series online too. As most of you know, it's called Strawberry Vampire. It's about a strawberry draining vampire family who immigrates to America and tries to figure out how to fit in. It's a strange idea, a little specific, maybe even a little risky. But when you look back at animation history, the shows that end up meaning the most to audiences are often the ones that felt unusual when they were first pitched. So instead of waiting for the industry to decide whether the idea works, I decided to try building it with an audience first. I released the pilot animatic on YouTube, and now I'm preparing to launch a new Kickstarter to fund the next episode on March 21st. Because sometimes, the weird ideas just need a place to exist long enough for people to discover them. And that's exactly what happened with Adventure Time.
Adventure time, come on, grab your friends. We'll go to very distant lands. Jake the dog and Ben the human. The fun will never end. It's Adventure Time.
The shows that have the biggest cultural impact are often the shows that someone took a real creative risk on. Shows like the Powerpuff Girls, SpongeBob SquarePants, and Bluey. The Powerpuff Girls, for example, originally started as a student film called The Whoop-Ass Girls. And SpongeBob SquarePants, I mean, who would have thought that a sponge would become one of the most successful characters in animation history? Nickelodeon didn't. SpongeBob has dominated kids' animation viewership for decades, and it's been on the air for more than 25 years. And then there's Bluey, which found its own completely unique angle by focusing just as much on the experience of being a parent as it did on the experience of being a child. And that's really the pattern you start to notice. The shows that change animation aren't the safe ones. They're the strange ideas, the risky ones, the ones that didn't quite fit the mold, but someone believed in them anyway. And sometimes, that's all it takes to change animation forever. If you're interested in learning more about how animated shows actually get developed and pitched, I wrote a book called A Guide to Developing Animated Shows. You can purchase the ebook on my website, emilybrundige.com. And if you like learning about how animation actually gets made and gets written, subscribe to my channel. I make videos about storytelling, pitching, and creating original animated shows. Also, let me know in the comments, what cartoon inspired you to start creating?